Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Legacy Politics. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And I'm so glad we're tuning in today. We're going to be talking about two separate things today, mainly to do with the governors of two separate states. So let's get right into it with this beautiful clip.
Wasting energy on distractions is the last thing that state government should be doing.
Bye-bye.
New York tough means New York loving. And I love New York. And I love you.
Bye-bye. Okay?
And I think that given the circumstances, the best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing. And therefore, that's what I'll do.
Bye.
And that's right, Governor Cuomo resigning in wake of the state's investigation into his sexual harassment allegations. That is correct. It happened. I really am pretty stunned it actually did happen. He had the guts to do it. I always said that if Governor Cuomo did happen to resign, I would think he would have done it not publicly and definitely not in a public embarrassment as he did in the clip that you just witnessed. But he did it, right? He resigned. They got him. The Democrats, to their credit, held him accountable. Now, when Biden was talking about this, President Biden, he was talking about he was happy, or rather the headline said that he respects Cuomo's decision to resign, says the disgraced governor did a hell of a job. So I'm not really sure what that is even supposed to mean, that you respect Cuomo's decision to resign because of sexual harassment, but you're saying that he did a hell of a job at the same time. I'm not really sure what that means, Mr. President, but this has shown that investigations into sexual allegations like this can lead to politicians' downfall. And if you remember back when the election was happening, Tara Reid came forth with President Biden, and when she learned of the news that Cuomo had to resign, she came and reacted to it, and she calls for another investigation, and this time not for Governor Cuomo, but this time the investigation into the president. She blasts the Times up for concluding with the New York governor to discredit one of his accusers' hideous betrayal. So a lot of great stuff there, great juicy stuff. I'm not really going to get into because I want to talk about the next topic, but a lot of stuff that's really good to read if you want to read about it. But needless to say, they got him, and he is out, and his lieutenant governor will step in the role of New York governor, and hopefully they'll stop killing people up in New York. All right, so let's move on to the next topic at hand, and that is, you guessed it, the 2021 California gubernatorial election, recall election. Now, I did this video about 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, and I said that there was no way that this was going to happen, and if this did happen, it would be a ginormous upset. Now, there's been several developments since that specific video and all that we're going to talk about. But first, I want to talk a little bit about how this is a long shot, and I want everybody to understand that this California gubernatorial recall election is a long shot. It's not going to be something that's going to be won very easily. It's going to be very hard to win this gubernatorial recall election for the Republicans. Now, the way California does elections, as they do normally, they take forever to count the ballots. They just take long. I think the last House race was called in January after Election Day in 2020. So those mail-in ballots will be sent in about 3 weeks from today. So in about 3 weeks, those mail-in ballots will be sent to everyone, and then they will be sent back, and they'll have basically, this is how the California race works. It'll have 2 questions on it. The first question will ask whether or not Gavin Newsom should be recalled, and if you say yes, then you have to list who your replacement candidate is, and whoever has the best percentage, if it passes, will be governor of California. You don't even have to break 50. You don't even have to break 20. Technically, it's just whoever has the highest percentage would be then California's governor if the recall passed. Now, since I last did a video, we have had several new candidates come in. But first, talking a little bit about those mail-in ballots. The Democrats did this in the 2020 election. They've done it in the past where they send everyone a ballot and then they just constantly text them. They constantly email them, say, "Did you get your ballot in? Mail in your ballots." I know several people in Michigan and Wisconsin who got a mail-in ballot, or rather, maybe they were just a registered voter, and they were getting constant texts from Joe Biden's campaign, from the Biden campaign, which is good for the Democrats, and that's what the Republicans need to strategize against. We need to start strategizing against how we're going to combat that, not just where we're going to be sitting on our booties and just hoping that we win another election, because 2024 is not going to be easier than 2020. So we need to keep that in mind. Now, the reason you're seeing so many qualified candidates on the Democratic side is because there is actually a lot of pushback against Gavin Newsom, right? Not even just with the Republicans. Obviously, Republicans are pushing back against him, but also with the Democrats as well. We have at least 8 candidates here, if I'm doing that math correctly, maybe 9, and all of them trying to get that specific vote where they just have to have majority of the vote if the recall passes. Now, we have had a couple of more Republican candidates enter in, obviously, since the last one. We obviously have Caitlyn Jenner, who we talked about last time, Kevin Faulconer, who we talked about last time as well, but we also have Larry Elder, who recently introduced his campaign after the video I put out about the California gubernatorial election, and Larry Elder is actually leading in most of the polls. So if we scroll down to the poll here, I'll show you that. So the poll right now isn't looking great for Gavin Newsom. A lot of different things that we're seeing from this polling. When I did the video back in May, it was pretty wide margin here. But look at this. The yes on recall has now taken the lead in what Wikipedia put out here, which is Real Clear Politics. They got a lot of the 2020 election correct, not all of it. But now if we look at all of the polling here, Survey USA says yes to the recall. But there's also 9 undecided voters. So once again, I do think it's a long shot because we do not know that if the long shot voters would break yes. So if they break no, which that is a really wide margin, 51 to 40, margin of error is 5, so it'd be about 51-45. But looking at that, that's pretty crazy. The More Information group that also has a yes winning, that's leaning heavily Republican. That's a Republican poll, as you can see here. Republican poll, heavily Republican poll. I think they had Trump winning Pennsylvania by 5 in the 2020 election. And they have 5 undecided. So I would pretty much take that poll, probably not true. Emerson College is normally pretty reliable. 6 undecided, and it's 2% difference. So very, very close, according to the polling data, which is very surprising in my opinion. But Larry Elder, if the recall did go through, is leading in the polling as far as the candidates go. See he's right here, and he just shoots up. As far as the new candidates go. So when we look at these polls and we look at Larry Elder, 23%, 9%, 10%, 12%, 18%, 16%, and his challengers, John Cox. And John Cox won some of these polls, which was the More Information group, which is that Republican poll that I was talking about. And then also Survey USA that had the yes by over 10%, which wouldn't ever happen. So looking at polling, it is looking pretty nerve-wracking for Gavin Newsom, as we see here from Deadline.com. Their poll had Newsom ahead in the recall vote, but it comes down to this, and I like how they put this out here. That's why I'm going to share this article. But Latinos could be a problem for governor. When we look at the 2020 election, that is exactly... Wow, I can't even look at it. Unbelievable. But when we do look at the 2020 election and we look at it specifically The Latinos in California is where the Republicans have to gain ground if they ever want a shot, not even just to win the state, but just to win something like this, like a gubernatorial election. The Latinos have to break for a Republican to have a shot at dethroning a Democratic governor. When we look at Larry Elder, he's actually a radio host, and he's the leading opponent to California's Governor Newsom, and he's long embraced the position that minimum wage is unnecessary. And that's, if you look up Larry Elder videos, it's what he's always talking about, that the minimum wage is zero. Why two people who are adults can't determine what the price of labor ought to be is to be on me, blah, 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 blah. So that's basically him, Kevin Faulconer. He's a great candidate, and Larry Elder is in the lead as of now. So when we look at this and we say, can it happen? I don't think so. And, there's a lot of money, and I think it's interesting. There's a lot of money being poured into this election by Democrats, and I don't think they'd be pouring that much money into it if it was really that safe. So I do think it's closer than what the Democrats would like it to be. But Inside Elections has it as likely D, which I would agree with. If it goes to Newsom if the yes goes by around 7 to 8 points, I would see that. I don't think it's going to be closer than that. But just remember that if it is under 50% on a yes, regardless, then Gavin Newsom will be recalled. And the candidate with the most percent of the rest of the vote would therefore be governor of California. Kevin Perkins also won Survey USA's poll, as well as John Cox, so that is something to keep in mind. They have a lot of undecided voters as well, so that's why a lot of money is being spent on those campaigns, because a lot of the polling is showing undecided voters, but a lot of the polling is also showing that this might just be a blowout. As we see, Republic Institute of California, 16-point advantage for Gavin Newsom. Right here, Prolowski Research, which is a Republican-leading poll, has it at a 18-point differential. So a lot of polling showing it's not going to be that close, but I did want to do a video on it because there's a lot of people wondering if it is going to be that close. I agree with Inside Elections that it's probably going to be likely D, probably around 5 to 10 points in favor of Gavin Newsom. But it is interesting because I think it is all about turnout, right? It's not about whether or not there's more Democrats than Republicans in California. It's about who will turn out for the election. Will there be more Republicans than Democrats that turn out for the election? I don't know. And that's something that we have to understand when we look at the midterm elections. Well, in 2022, it's all about turnout, and it's all about how to get your base to turn out. And that's where a lot of people are just unbelievably discombobulated of how the base of Donald Trump did not win the 2020 election. And so, like I've said in the past, it's all about the base, and if you can get your base out to vote, you have a good shot. So if you're a Republican in California or you're a Democrat in California, get out and vote September 14th, because it's going to come down to turnout. If the Democrats have a good turnout, they'll win this pretty easily. But if they don't have a good turnout and the Republicans have a great turnout, it could be a little closer than Gavin Newsom would want. So thank you so much for watching my complete breakdown of the California gubernatorial election. I am considering doing a live show the night of the race. Like I said, California is really long in counting ballots, which is ridiculous. We need to have election reform very soon in this country, where, Florida in the 2020 election was called at 9 p.m. and Georgia wasn't called until the next Thursday or Friday or whatever it was. Just significant reform we needed. We need to have these ballots counted in a more timely manner, where we're not waiting days and days and to see whether or not a certain candidate has won. So guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Legacy Politics out.